extinguished. Yeah. Good Lord. So yeah, we'll see if we can get some air. This is nice. How you guys doing?
Good.
Week 7. Wow. Crap, week 7. 70% done. Kind of crazy to think about. So, thank you for all this. How were they?
They were good.
Decent. Decent. We had the, there was one that was very boring. I apologize for that one. Extraordinarily boring. Just a bunch of numbers and frequencies. It's just, can you just run the numbers? Can you pull numbers off a distribution? Give me Q1. Outliers was a little less contrived, but still not. Next week's quizzes, I think, are a little more interesting. One's about something called the Gambler's Ruin. We'll talk about that momentarily. The other one is, I forget. Talk about flipping coins. Flipping coins and setting wagers with a friend. The idea, we're in the middle of a very important idea right now called probability distributions. And we're going to do a few more today. I'm thinking we're going to, at least 3 today, maybe even a 4th one today. I have an in-class quiz I want to do with you guys. I put it down over here. And you'll understand how an actuary's job works, which is a very fun career. If you're into statistics, it's a very interesting way to apply statistics and make a career out of it. So we'll talk a little more about that later if you're interested. But next week, a couple quizzes and a project. Don't forget there's a project due next week, right? It's the one that involves Excel. I just got a heads up from my 244 class. It's funny, statistically speaking, you may have heard of something called confirmation bias. You may have heard of this, you may never have heard of this. Confirmation bias is, so to give you an example of confirmation bias. Yeah, I read somewhere that you shouldn't have more than 5 kids because all your hair falls out. Oh yeah, I got this friend, she's got like 6 and no hair. See what I'm talking about? That's called confirmation bias. Because you heard a data point that supports a belief that you read. What you didn't hear was the other 20 people that would unsupport the belief. So what happened in class when I walked into 244, they had an Excel-based assignment done due today. And 5 people in the front of the room all said, I couldn't get the Excel sheet to run, it didn't run, there's something wrong with Excel. And I was like, did anybody run the Excel sheet just fine? And 20 people in the room put their hand up. So it's the old phrase, squeaky wheel gets the grease. When that happens, if you ever have that experience, make sure you sample the entire sample and say, okay, 5 people had it not work, but 20 had it work. So then I conclude that the Excel sheet was working correctly, and then I went through the people one at a time and said, why was it not working for them? Macintosh. I love Macintoshes, but I've told you time and time again that they don't do certain things very well with Microsoft. I was working at home. What version of Office do you have? Office has versions? Okay, there's a problem. And I just went through them one by one, and it was so cute. They're like, okay, we feel bad now. And it's adorable. It's adorable, but it's one of those things. You'll often hear confirmation bias, which is, I heard, oh yeah, I heard that too, and all of a sudden, what's the old funny, if you hear something 3 times, it's therefore the truth? Or if something is repeated 3 times, it becomes the truth, or something like that. Careful. So anyway, when you're doing Excel for next week, make sure you're on a computer that when you press F9, something happens. If you're pressing F9 and nothing's happening, you need to find another computer to work on. And work on it on the school computers. It works just fine on school computers. Just so you know, it always will. Just like you guys in 105 had to deal with that every once in a while. That's it for next week. We'll get these back to you ASAP. Cool. This is the pile of all the stuff I've got. If you want to come grab your hard copies of whatever, come grab. Make sure that grades are agreement. Like I messed up. I forgot to put Omar's grade in, so I can definitely fix that for you. You got your progress reports, I think yesterday or Tuesday. I forget when I sent those out. So just keep tracking those. Keep an eye on those, and all good. Any questions about that before we move on? I want to talk about 3 distributions today at least. I want to talk about Gambler's Ruin. I want to talk about the game Chuck-a-Luck, which is a Vegas game. And I want to talk about my mortality and how much I should pay to insure against it. I want to talk about at least those 3 things. If we have time, we'll talk about my chicken flock too as well. We'll see if we have time. That might have to wait till Tuesday. And it's all tied back to the same idea of probability distributions. Yep. It's amazing how much distributions. It's all tied back to this idea. Pretty much everything you've done the first 7 weeks of this course is really, not to kind of sound